Hey folks, it's Jeremy, the host of Blammo. Thanks so much for listening. This is a preview of one of our exclusive shows on Patreon. These are member-supported shows, meaning they only happen because of our incredible members and community. So check out a preview of the episode, and if you like it, consider joining us on Patreon at patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive Blammo episodes, shows, our amazing Slack group, and we're adding new things for members all the time. If not, no worries, we still love you, and we literally have hundreds of episodes of Blammo all free for you to dive into. Thanks so much.
Hey folks, you're listening to the JJJ show with your favorite J's on the internet. Jian de Leon, Jeremy Kirkland, and Jeff Hilliard. All of their names start with J, so it's called the JJJ show, sometimes referred to as the Triple J show. We don't care what you call it, but it's an insider's podcast about the world of fashion and menswear. The lads are back, talking shop and being utter buffoons. What else do you expect? Jian's got some new stuff from Tom Brown. Jeff talks about incense and chalk coats. And Jeremy got high and played slot machines in Vegas. What an idiot. There are so many hot takes in this episode that even start talking about HD televisions. So sit back, enjoy, and thanks for supporting Blammo. Happy Thanksgiving.
Geez, did I get stupid? Did I forget how to set up audio and video chats? Nothing freaking works.
We've only been doing it for 5 years, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what happened with Squadcast, guys. I want to shout out to Squadcast, you ass clowns.
Yeah.
Nothing fucking worked. We're hearing feedback. We all got fancy mics. We all got little things to plug in. We all got headphones. I'm switching providers. I'm switching to Singular.
Squadcast, sponsor the pod.
No, don't. I don't want to give in.
Yeah.
And I got cookies in my teeth because I've been slamming Fortnum. I've been stress eating Fortnum and Mason cookies.
Nice. I've been listening to Creed Miss just to get me prepared for today, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Jian's is in a pinstripe suit.
Yeah.
Full blown.
Jian sat down like a gangster is getting ready to shoot us off the table.
I am. Here to talk about the takeover, boys.
Yeah.
And I look like
Jeremy
an
looks
old
like a chenille
Q-tip.
couch. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Gian, tell me that you're wearing just mesh shorts on the bottom. They're just ESPN Sportcaster style. Oh.
Oh,
This
no,
is
he got faded.
This is it's
Wow, what a fit.
It's
Holy
Tom
cow.
Brown.
Custom TB with the gold
Custom
buttons.
TB. Yeah.
Wow.
you know,
You might have to post that in the Fits channel after
Yeah.
this.
maybe
We'll see.
we'll see. This is a very dick thing to say. I'm taking it to the Tom Brown store to get my like the data was made handwritten because the person that I usually go to is there tomorrow
Yeah. No, hey, I get that.
because they
You
have
wanna
to
the
handwrite
good,
it.
Yeah, you want to have
the
the
good
handwriting.
handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget Mark sold me one of his Liveranos and I was like, oh sweet, like cheap Liverano, and I got it and I asked Taka to write my name in it above Mark's and he just wrote it with like a Bic pen and it just
That's
looked
hilarious.
awful. I was like, yeah, thanks.
He was like, "Yeah, here you go. Here's a secondhand writing with a secondhand suit."
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a good idea that you had him write. You had him write your name in it. I didn't really think of that.
It was a terrible idea. It looked
No,
awful.
it's a great idea. It's just he fucked up.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you guys get the notes?
I did, yeah.
Gian, did you get them?
Do we have
Okay.
enough shit to talk about?
No, we got a ton of stuff to talk about because I got to hear all about Vegas. I got to hear about Mario Andretti, Gian de Leon's speed demon Vegas trip, especially being in Milan, like a day before you got to Vegas. Did you go from Milan to Vegas or what?
No, I gave myself a couple of days in between, like literally a day in between. So we were in Milan for pre-market, which is basically looking at pre-fall collections. I
But
had
do
to leave
buys
early.
happen during that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sorry, go
basically,
ahead.
you know, I guess in retail parlance, pre-fall is the delivery before the actual fall collection. So in like the fashion world, that means, you know, the more commercial leaning side. So this is most of the collections are larger than what we'll see for the main collections that go down the runway. But there's usually a bit of like connection between the two. But it's not just like the big fashion brands that are showing it. Also like pre-fall buys or pre-spring buys, like pre-season buys happen for a lot of brands in general. So,
And are these they're not generally shows, they're more like showroom appointments, right?
it's literally showroom appointments. It's not necessarily like a press thing. It's more like an industry thing of just we're going to look at the things that the majority of most budgets are going to be allocated to, depending on the brand. But generally, what you're looking at is the things that you'll do a ton of volume on, or you're hoping to do a lot of volume on.
Right. So you were there, then you went to Vegas.
I did, yeah. So I was in Milan. I flew back. So we saw the new Stone Island collection. So Stone is one of those brands that doesn't have a pre-fall and a main. It's all just one collection, which is also a thing that some brands show ahead of the calendar too. This is why like when people talk about the quote unquote fashion calendar and how kind of crazy and inconsistent it is, it's exactly this kind of conversation of just like some people show in Milan, some people show in Paris, some people show in New York. I mean, I'm going to see Rick Owens after I come back from Thanksgiving, right?
I feel like Rick puts on like 10 shows a year, and they're in Paris. They're everywhere.
Well, they do their shows like we're gonna see like the pre-collection for Rick. So when they say pre-collection, it's also this similar sort of parlance for the same thing, which is the things that ship to the stores before the actual collection. So for Rick too, it's like they have their own mainline pre-collection, but they also have Dark Shadow, which if you're not aware is like a different sort of line for Rick that you'll have different takes of, let's say, like the Geth jean or like the Creech in like Jersey. So it's like a lot of these more accessibly priced fabrics versus like the crazy leathers and treatments that you'll get for like a main collection. So and then they have a made in Japan line that Kia Babzani like helps out on. I think somebody from Ironheart is now overseeing that as part of Dark Shadow, but it's pretty sick. It's my favorite stuff. Ooh. But yeah, so yeah, long story short, if you are if you work in retail and you're buying for a store, like you're basically on the road a lot if that's your main job. So and then a lot of these things can be done virtually. A lot of people have to just because of it costs a lot of money to travel. And COVID made that sort of a more viable option because there's like a lot of brands that normally would not have done that or allowed sort of virtual buys. But yeah, so buying is a very grueling job that can wear a lot of people down because you're basically traveling a ton.
Jeremy, I know we want to get to Vegas, but then within all of this, there's also what people might call market, right? And that happens across the globe. Break that down? Is it more regional specific? How does market fit in all this?
We jumped straight into Jian question, huh?
Yeah, it's always market, dude. Like it's basically just you're in market. Market is just the term for you're looking at things that will be delivered, right? At a later date. You're looking at like the latest offerings from X brand. And with men's and women's are on radically different dates. Footwear is on a radically different cadence than a lot of the apparel schedule. I mean, basically for every single category, there is a different time to buy these things, right? It's like in watches that there's like Basil World, and that's a whole thing that I'm only vaguely familiar with.
Now it's Watches and Wonders.
Watches and Wonders, exactly. And then like, and that's not just like the big guys, right? It's like and every sort of, I guess, industry or like category within the larger fashion industry, right? You always have like the prestigious big dogs that everyone talks about, and then there's the companies that are very, very respectable and successful businesses that may not have the prestige of like some of like the top 5 names if you say like name a watch brand walking down the street, but they're also showing their latest and greatest and working with the boutiques and their partners who carry like those lines, and they're like usually showing and doing the wholesale portion of that business around that same time.
Damn.
And there it is. A
Yeah.
million things going on at once. How do you keep
Exactly.
track of it all?
I don't even know. I mean, I focus mostly on apparel and footwear. So, and that's already like a lot because, I mean, the apparel schedule is crazy for traveling. And then footwear is also pretty big when it happens. I don't even get to go to all the footwear appointments, right? Because it's like a lot of the sportswear brands are based in like Portland or Boston. So a lot of those are virtual, or Germany, if you're Adidas, for example. So it just depends.
You're the busiest person in all of fashion, I think.
No, I'm definitely. I'm up there, but there, anyone who
Well,
works
fashion that's
in
doing
this,
actual work. I know a lot of
mean,
other people in fashion, and they're on the road, and they're just.
yeah, there's a lot.
It's not even
happening.
an edit. It's just me not talking.
All right, so all this brings you to Vegas. What happened
Yes.
in Vegas?
So I was in Vegas for Formula One, the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We had
Woo!
an event there with this amazing creator, Dominic Griselli, and then David Coulthard, aka DC, F1 legend, Scotsman. I think he's like he also holds the record for the British driver with the most points. I think he's podiumed 62 times, maybe 113.
Jeez.
But he's pretty, he's legit. And he's one of those athletes that's transitioned from athlete to like commentator and host. So, he was just an absolute pleasure to talk to, and is super eloquent and very knowledgeable. And if you've been a racing fan, it's like this guy was racing with like Michael Schumacher and like some of the greats
Wow.
in the sport. So a lot of people wanted to ask him questions about pertaining to like being among these legends too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he rode for actually he rode for McLaren, drove for McLaren for a long time, but I think well, the interesting thing about his trajectory is that he was one of the first drivers for Red Bull. Like when Red Bull, if you follow F1, Red Bull is essentially like they have Max Verstappen, who's he just won his fourth F1 Global Championship. He's like
He's like
arguably
12,
yeah, exactly. No, he's like in his 20s, but he's basically like the most accomplished driver in F1 right now. He's like literally the best driver in the world, and he's been that for 4 years now. So
Wow.
Red Bull, was this underdog that was literally an energy drink coming into F1, and DC was like one of the first drivers for this team that was just like no one knew what to expect. And now, they're like the top dogs in F1. So much so they have two teams, right? They have the Red Bull team, and then they have I'm not going to say this. I refuse to say the full name out loud. VCarb as well, who has my favorite driver, Yuki Tsunoda, who we did an event with last year.
Amazing.
Hell yeah. Did you gamble?
But, no.
Let's talk about the real. Let's talk about the
I
real
don't.
reason you go to Vegas.
I don't really gamble a lot. I do roulette sometimes, but I didn't really this time.
Ooh, a roulette man. Do you want to know the game that Jeremy plays?
What?
Take a guess.
Blackjack.
Nope.
You will never guess. Willy
Jeremy
Wonka, baby.
plays the Willy Wonka slots.
Oh
and
my
he
God.
won
I played
the
it with
most
you.
amount of money I've ever seen somebody playing Willy Wonka slots.
$1,500.
How?
Because I'm an idiot.
By pressing buttons, How
I
else
just pressed
do
the
you do it?
button. Yeah, it's true. No, I mean this happened with Moy, believe it or not, at one of the. Oh, I think it was like a project or something, and it was with. I think Moy and I were out there. It might have been. It was with you too, and I think you had just gone that night or something. But because remember we did a pot along. I think it might be the very very first Triple J.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe this was when we went to Lotus of Siam.
Yes,
Yes.
and I
also,
played Wonka.
amazing restaurant, probably the best restaurant.
Yeah. I really wish we would have gone, but part of our party was terrified of leaving the strip or something. I don't know. Whatever. It wasn't Jeff. It was the other people that was with us. We were there for my brother's 30th birthday. But
right, we were like a week apart, right? Or 2 weeks apart,
Yeah.
I feel like.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
We
Like
both
I would
missed
say,
Complex Con.
yes. I think we left. Complex Con was there. It ended. You arrived because they were setting up for F1 when we were there. And first off, I fucking love Vegas. I take back everything I've ever said negative about Vegas.
Well,
I
it
will
helps
go
when you leave with
anytime.
money in your pocket.
Well, but I mean, I didn't really. Well, I mean, I left with $52 more than when I came.
Yeah.
Which meant that I gambled a lot. I was down over $400 like an idiot. It was the best time of my life of playing games, walking around. I was high as a kite. I'm just going to tell the absolute truth. I'm sorry, Mom. I was so stoned. It was fucking great. And you know, I mean, I don't really drink anymore, but yeah, I was just cooking and I'm playing Wonka slots, which imagine if you're high, a giant, 6-foot screen with Gene Wilder dancing around and the Oompa Loompa song playing. It kind of gets contagious. And we were there watching Hilliard lose all of his money in blackjack. And here's a fun fact.
Whoa,
I think he listens to this. Hold on, we're gonna talk about Jeff's blackjack. We're playing, and Jeff was actually crushing it for a bit, and it was awesome. And we're sitting there, and this other guy's standing next to me, and it's like 1 a.m. I think it was late. It was super late at that time, and I'm standing at the table. And you know how, like, if you stand at a blackjack table, you don't want to stand like directly behind the person. You kind of got to give space. So you're like,
Right.
you're in the perimeter. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, this guy looks really familiar. I was like, nah, couldn't be. And I was like, all right. And I just kind of looked at him. He looked at me, and it was Nick Weidenfeld.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so he was there just hanging out on like a 3-day weekend or whatever. Yeah, so Weidenfeld was like, what are you doing here? I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, dude, I'm watching your boy, man. And we all did, but it was
aggressively bet head to head versus a dealer in blackjack.
It was great.
Tearing my hair out.
Gian, I think you were actually supposed to come.
I know. I guess I don't know. I got sidetracked.
All right, you were doing
Forgot
work.
to book. Yeah,
you were doing work.
These things happen.
But yeah, no, it was so. Yeah, Jeff and I were out there. We were celebrating my little brother's 30th. It was fun. It was good. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a huge gambler, but I'm like, oh, I'm going to play this Wonka machine. And I had played it once, and I'd won some money. And then when I came back, a year or two later, I played and won a little bit of money again. And they're still there. I mean, the machine that I played last time was not the machine that was there this time, because I played with James Harvey Kelly actually, and he played a bunch of Wonka stuff, and he won couple $100 or whatever. And yeah, and then I was playing with my brother-in-law. It was great, and it literally is this sensory overload, because you're only playing with like a third of the screen. And then when you hit, the screen extends the additional, 3-4 feet. And all of a sudden I got Oompa Loompas jumping up in front of me. And
I was just screaming at the screen when it was happening too.
Yeah.
Just full blown screaming.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And
I think you played, let's say you played 8 times, maybe. You won 6 out of the 8 times that you played. I've never seen that in slots before. That was wild.
Yeah, I did pretty good, weirdly. Would not have expected that. I did. There was a few times where I was like, yo, man, I'm feeling good. It's 10:30 in the morning, and I just put $100 bill straight into the fucking Wonka machine. Lost every cent of it.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, because also you're playing with credits. So you put the money in. It's like, oh, you can play with 1 cent. A credit. Each thing is like 500 credits, and it's like, do you want to play with 1 cent denomination, 5 cent, 10 cent denomination? And so like you can press a button and literally spend like $25. And a couple times I did it.
That has never really played slots and gambles maybe once a year, it was astounding to me how effective they are at making it so you have no idea how much money you're spending. So like you put the money in, and then your money immediately gets converted to credits or whatever, coins.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, like even if you know the conversion, you go and you say, all right, I'm going to spend X amount of credits per hand. And then they have multipliers on top of that. So you don't even know what you're spending until you hit the button the first time. And then you're like, okay, just took $9 out of my $100 bet. And then you adjust from there. But all the psychology and the colors and the size of the screen and how it moves is so fascinating to see, like decades of research that they probably do to get you to basically press the button.
Seriously, it was a little crazy. But I mean, shit, I wish we would have been there for that additional week, or the time during F1. I mean, I imagine it would have been like a gajillion times more expensive. But it was cool. I mean, I think if you want to go to Vegas for like 2 days, go for a weekend, and you just freaking bro out. We went and saw a show at the Sphere. It was fucking fantastic. We ate some whatever overpriced burgers and steaks, all the things, and I loved it. I would 100% 10 out of 10 would recommend. Yeah, man.
The Sphere was.
Hello, you've reached the end of the Patreon preview. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, please consider subscribing and supporting the show on patreon.com. Members get access to all the Triple J show episodes, plus Dye Workwear with Derek Guy and Peter Zottolo. Visit patreon.com/Blamo to learn more. Cheers.